Hello guys, GenKaan here with the final round, the final video, the fourth video on threat bombs in EDH. And we are down to multicolored, stuff that is more than one color. Let's get into it. First out is a Strixhaven card in Lorehold Apprentice from the Boros Guild in Strixhaven. And the use of this card is fairly narrow. I see this pairs super well with something like Kaikar and a Jeskai Ascendancy token sort of combo deck. It cuts around so you don't have to attack, and with untapping you can really dish out a ton of damage. With only a few tokens, a few cantrips, maybe with Hoffrey, Ugin the Ineffable, Raynar even, this could be a really powerful card. Haunted Library as well is a great card with this. So there's quite a few cards that function well with this. Not broken, I would say, but in the right Jeskai build, this could be a cool alternative win con that not everyone will see coming and gets around a lot of defensive options like the Propaganda and Ghostly Prison and stuff like Ensnaring Bridge and yeah, nasty stuff. Next up we have Baba Lysaga, Night Witch, from the new D&D set. So on the front end I see a 3/3 for 3 in the Golgari colors that does super well in most Golgari decks, I would say. Throw in a few artifact lands, some enchantment creatures, and you have a legit card advantage and life draining card that basically does all you need, gets out early, can block tokens. And without any activation cost, I see this as a super potent card that also works as a sack outlet. So if you want to sacrifice creatures, that's, an added bonus on top of gaining you 3 cards. So the card advantage part of this one is fantastic. I think it's super legit. I think you should pick up this right now. Next up we have Bess, Soul Nurturer from the new Capenna Commander set. And guess what card is in 10% of decks that I keep talking about? Yeah, that's the Skewty boy. He is back again, and this guy does super well with Bess. So what she does is she grows everything for each 1/1 that enters the battlefield. So she gets huge, and that's great. But it's not a win con on its own really. But with the Arm of Scoot Swarms or any other token really in Celestia colors as well, this one is a beast. And Aura Mutations goes in the Celestia colors as well. You can destroy your own enchantments to give your board a super powerful buff on attack. I'm pretty sure all decks that want to run this one would also run like Rebel Rousing, stacking the triggers. So I'm pretty sure it works like that. If you can stack the attack triggers, so first you trigger Rebel Rousing, getting a 1/1 token for each attacking creatures, and then doing the best check to check for her power to buff the whole attacking team. I think it works like that, and that would be super busted. This is a nutty card. I love it. Play it, guys. It's fantastic. Next is a super interesting card. It's a sweeper in Blot Out the Sky from Strixhaven. So I'd say this is a super interesting sweeper that goes into a specific type of deck, in creature-based deck that doesn't go around with enchantments and artifacts and stuff, or not a lot of them, or not invest a lot in them. So if someone has a stack piece like Ghostly Prison, Propaganda that prevents you from attacking them, well, for 8 mana, X is 6, you get 12 powers in the air, on top of destroying all non-creature permanents or non-land non-creature permanents. And it's just 8 mana away. So it's a super flexible card. I have a few other sweepers on screen as well that I think pairs, or at least on par with the Blot Out the Skies. Because you also get the power from the tokens you create, and those can block as well. So you're really protecting yourself as well in the air. So I think this has a lot of utility. I really like this card, and I think it's a fair alternative to some of the other sweepers, at least to Inguruk's Wake or whatever. So yeah, this one is for sure an interesting card that I think should be ran in more decks than 2%. Next up we have Borin Stotram, originally from Lorwyn. It's a 4 mana 4/4 with lifelink, and that's a fair statted creature. Having a decent blocker that keeps your health above critical levels is also nice. It gives you a nice advantage on top of being just a fair creature. And warrior type works with party mechanics and stuff, so yeah, and a giant, so that's pretty cool. And also, if someone interacts or swords to plowshares to try to remove anything from your board, you can just fling it at him. And yeah, so he has nice ping sort of ability, and also in Boros he scales super well with counters. Counters are not super common in Boros, but equipment they are. So equipment on this guy and you can start doing some real damage. Next up we have Burning Tree Shaman, originally from Guild Pact. It's an honest 3-drop that will easily do 10 to 15 damage over the course of a few turns. I think I already picked this guy up for my Yorlok burn deck, not on the list originally when I posted the deck tech. It's a decent blocker early game and super punishing piece late game. Also, I play Cindervines in Yorlok, and that one is a pain for most of my opponents. Next up is Cryptborn Horror from Return to Ravnica. Again, you know I like my 3-drops, and this one again goes super well into the Yorlok deck and most Mardu decks, I guess, because what does Mardu like to do most? And that's do damage, pretty much. And it coming in on turn 3 or turn 4 with Trample, and you know, it's easily in a okay Rakdos deck to make this a 6/6 or 8/8 even Trampler for 3. I think this one is way underplayed. This one is a beast, for sure. Next up is Divinity of Pride, originally from Eventide. A super strong 5-drop, pretty restricted to cost because of the hybrid mana symbols, so you get no colorless, you need your colors. So in a 3-color deck this could be a bit rough, but at least in a Orzhov deck that this is going to be a beast. It's an 8/8 flying lifelink for 5, and those stats you don't really get. And for €2, I think this one is a beast as well. Next up we have Galaseth Prismari, the Elder Dragon from Strixhaven and the School of Prismari. It's a 4-drop flyer that generates a treasure on ETB and turns all mana or all treasures into mana rocks for spells, instant sorceries. And with this current meta of treasures, I think this one is a fantastic pickup, and especially in those colors as well, because Izzet and treasures are not the best color, but definitely top 3. And yeah, it just complements the deck a lot. I'm seeing clean Izzet Spellslinger, like a Kalamax Teamer bullshit deck, or a Jeskai like Kaikar or Hinata build. I'm actually running this in my high-powered Kaikar deck, and he is not really on that power level, but is a flavor card. I really like Strixhaven. But the card itself is super legit, mid-power, even I think a bit in on-hand high power as well. Even as a commander I think is great. And it's a bit on the expensive side at €3, but yeah, this card is a beast. Next up we have General Farius Rockrick from Modern Horizons 2. I did mention Hero of Precinct 1, and this is arguably a better version of him or her, making 4/4s instead of 1/1s with the same conditions. Also having tokens be artifact helps a bit, so it's more vulnerable to austere command and stuff, but again, austere command, if you have a great token base, low CMC creatures will die anyways. Also artifacts is a common thing to take with austere command, so you can't really focus, but Vandal Blast and stuff like that will also impact this a lot. A protection from monocolored as well, I guess, Plow, Path, Murder, Pongify and stuff like that, so he has some protection if you would like to run him as a commander. I see him as a super legit 3-drop, like Mardu Aristocrats, or even Jeskai Spellslinger. I see this as an interesting build around, or even as a commander. I think you can make an interesting deck from this guy. Next up we have Glissa, the Traitor, originally from Mirrodin Besieged. So I really like my 3-drops, and this one is a 3/3 first strike death touch, making it super hard to attack you. So that's great. And 3 mana 3/3 again, sold. But that's not all. She has a whole lot of text that's relevant. Just the recursion part is super strong. Pair this up with like Chromatic Star, Mishra's Bauble, Spell Bombs, you name it, and you have card draw on top of all your interaction pieces. Throw this in like with Shimmermere or the Battlethopter, and the amount of card advantage you get is pretty insane. This one is a super legit card, both as a commander and as a 99. Next up is Retaliator Griffin from Alara Reborn. I found this guy when I searched for like flyers that scale well at 4 mana in the like mid to late game, and I'm pretty interested in this guy. It's in Naya colors, so it's pretty limited in the sort of decks you can play him, but this incentivizes to damage to you, and it doesn't only say combat damage, so like if anyone does any damage like Purpose or whatever, like Impact Tremors or pretty much whatever, you are going to grow this guy, and it is going to be huge pretty fast. And at low power games, I really like this card. I think it's cool, it's interesting, and it scales well. Next up we have a beast of a card in Jolene the Plunder Queen from New Capenna Commander series. And yeah, she is insane. A bit on the expensive side right now at 2.5 euros, but she will not get cheaper unless she's reprinted very soonly, because it's a 4 mana 2/2 that refunds you 2 with treasures if you have one attacking creature before she's dropped, and it incentivizes your opponents to attack each other because they get treasures. I don't think the last line, the sacrificing treasures to grow her, is super relevant, but the treasure doubler is what really sells the cards. Worth to note that Zorn is about twice as expensive with the asymmetrical effect. Next up is Kunaros, Hound of Athreos from Theros Beyond Death. And again, more 3-drops. I really like this card. Has a keyword soup, Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink, so he will gain you some life for sure early game. And he is a hate bear, or not bear really, but he stops reanimation and flashback. So he stops cards like Underworld Breach, he stops reanimations, and I think this one is a legit card. Just baseline, what you get for 3 mana with the keywords are, I think, enough. Pair this up with some equipments and you have a great creature. But the Graveyard Hate, this one goes in all my Orso decks. Next up is Magar of the Magic Strings from Unfinity. So I built a deck using him as a commander, but he does also really well in the 99, the card is very, very wordy, but essentially what it does, it's reanimating spells, turning them into 3/3 creatures that are not tokens and are without creature type and color. And when they connect for damage, you get to cast a spell that you reanimated. And you can connect multiple times. It doesn't go away when you hit it once, and it cannot leave the battlefield. So if you get bounced or flickered or whatever, it's going to go to exile, so you can only reanimate spells once. But again, it's 3 mana, it's a mana dump, it's a way to get more value from spells. Worst case scenario, you can reanimate something to get a blocker. It's possible to use in a political way as well, to reanimating removal, getting in for damage in order to take care of threats. And I think this one goes into a lot of Grixis decks. I think this one has a real home in Grixis decks. And it's a super fun commander and a really good card in the 99 as well. But maybe talk to your playgroup before playing Unfinity cards, but because I've come up against some resistance to it, but generally it's a pretty easy to understand card, but you kind of need to explain it because the text is more complicated than it really is. Next up is Pride of the Clouds from Descension, and this is a fair card. It's a fair part of Magic, but it goes in go wide strategy decks and scales pretty well. If you're running like any avoidance, you should go with this as well. The forecast I don't really get, but it has relevant creature types in cat, although cats don't really run blue, and elementals, and they don't generally run white. So this one is in a tough spot, but I think it's a fair 2-drop that scales pretty well. Next up is Rakdos, Lord of Riots from Return to Ravnica, and it's a super cool card. Easy to cast in most, I would say most Rakdos decks. Great synergy with stuff like Jun, like Big Dumb Creatures, and Mardu, Big Pain. Even without the stats, I think if it would be still like a 4 for 4, I still think this would be a great creature, but you get 6 flyer for 4. That's pretty damn busted. On top of getting the discount on creature spells. It's an insane card. Next up is Sarkhan Vol from Shades of Alara. To me, this is a haste enable Anthem Planeswalker that has an ultimate. So basically you're paying 1 more for a haste Anthem that doubles as almost win con. Yeah, 5/4/4 flying dragons is a win con for sure. So I say this is a haste enabler as a win con on the other side, on the back side, and at €4 I think it's a bit expensive, but yeah, it's a great card for sure. And lastly, out of all the cards in the threat and damage department, we have Sorcerer's Class from the first D&D set. And the front side is basically a Fateless Looting with an extra blue mana and Sorcerer Speed Izzet Charm. And at level 2, with a reasonably built deck, you basically get to cast all your instants and sorceries for free. And at level 3, you basically win the game. Like outright, you win the game. And for €0.5, initial cost of 2 mana, you have a super solid win con in any like Jeskai or Izzet Plus type of deck with any sort of token synergies. I'm talking like Locust God, Kaikar, even like Broodiclad could use this, even though he kind of wants a different type of deck, but this one goes into a lot of decks. It's a fantastic card, and you win the game. So play this card. So there we have it, guys. The run is over. This is underplayed threats, underplayed damage dealing creatures and effects that you should play in your decks. Cards that actually makes the game's end. There's a lot of focus on like value, ramp, and card draw and card advantage, but I see a lot of, especially Simic decks that does not really have a win con. I see a lot of controls deck that don't really have a win con either. They can establish control and lockdown, but without playing opponent's cards, they don't really win. So I'm just trying to put together a list for people that, will make games end quicker. And on top of that, I really like, you maybe have noticed, I like my 3-drops a lot, because I think that's where you start establishing if a turn 4 or turn 5 sweeper is needed. And if no opponent finds it, and you are in advantage and have board control, I think you are in a fantastic spot. So that's it, guys. I will eventually move on to the next project. I'm not sure what that's going to be, but probably card advantage, because that is something that I care a lot about as well. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.